Okay. Good evening.
Yeah, they're in the Dropbox. I'll give you my copy.
Okay, we're on live, guys. Okay, welcome to the June 5th Select Board meeting. I'm John Martin. To my left is Francine Tishman and Jim Labrie, and to my right is Rini Groden. Charlie Knickie is on vacation. We're going to record the meeting tonight, and also it's going out live. So if everybody can join us for the pledge, we appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. We're going to start with appointments to the Ad hoc Open Space Review Committee. We've had two meetings, but according to the town clerk, we need to appoint the members, and then they need to get sworn in by the town clerk. So what we have here is we have two at-large members, using my words, of Barbara LaFlamme and Diana Fetterman, and then we have representatives from various committees that we felt would help the Open Space Committee. One is Janet Brown from Community Preservation, Marla Hank from Conservation, Sonia Hood from Park Commission, Janet Kane from Board of Assessors, Cindy Palmer from the Planning Board, Maureen Groden from the Select Board, and myself from the Select Board. I believe everybody's gotten back to us. All the boards have gotten back to us saying that those appointments were okay with them. Is that correct, Rini?
I think so, yep.
Except for the Planning Board. The Planning Board is not meeting till tomorrow night.
Nope, they did
No, the planning board's tomorrow night.
Oh, okay, alrighty.
So the Planning Board is tomorrow night, so not to circumvent them from picking a person, we're going to put Cindy's on hold until the next meeting, okay? So can I hear a motion minus Cindy Palmer of appointing these folks?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Could I just mention something that I think it's important that if we're going to appoint people to committees that we're consistent with what happened with the Council of Aging. I think what happened was we had asked people to attend, or, I mean, we'd have to decide how we want to do it. I don't see Diana here, so I just wanted to make sure that we're not doing anything inconsistent to what we had done in the past. So we should decide, or can we just appoint people based on paperwork? Because Diana paperwork here, Barbara's here in person.
Right.
So that's all I want to bring up, because I know that I just want to expect the same things.
Yeah, Diana's not here, but she does have an application with us.
Okay.
Okay.
So people are fine with in-person or an application. If they couldn't make it, then I'm fine with that, but I just want to make sure that we're not doing anything different than what we had expected the Council of Aging to do.
Yeah. I think the only issue is if you wanted to challenge one of them.
Okay, I'm good.
Any other discussion?
Marla wanted to say something. Diana's in Maine on business.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks, Marla. Ed?
And just a reminder, would the terms of these be till June 30th, 2019?
Yeah, I've got the terms as next, but,
Okay.
okay, but thanks. So any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay. So term-wise, my suggestion was going to be for a year, because you don't know how long people are on the different committees.
Mhm.
So if we appoint them for a year, we can always reappoint after that. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, I think
okay.
that sounds good.
So we'll make the term for 1 year. So all these folks have to see the clerk to get sworn in. When's our next meeting?
The select,
No,
tomorrow
the
night.
Open space tomorrow night. So if you can get sworn in before then, that's great. If not, come to the meeting anyways, and we'll hold a meeting.
I will try to get all their appointment slips done by tomorrow, so the clerk has them.
Thanks. Hearings, none. Select board reports. Rita, you want to start with the open space, or?
Sure. The open space has met, I think, 3 times now, and many of us went on a walk through the property. It's beautiful property. And right now, we're looking at funding. I mean, obviously, that's the main thing. It's not going to come out of the operational funds. So that seems to be the biggest issue right now, is looking at funding. So a number of folks are going to the Community Preservation Committee meeting tomorrow, and then regrouping with a meeting right after that. What else do you want to add?
Yeah, as part of the process we have to go through under the first right of refusal, we have to have a public hearing which we'll schedule, and you have to have a town meeting for a vote too. So that's all in our plans to bring up within the timeframes. Anything else?
On that committee, no.
Or another committee?
No, Council of Aging meets tomorrow. Local school committee went to a meeting, and as we talked about last time, they're sending the budget directly to Ed, which we all got. At the local level, Hampshire Regional meets next Monday. I don't think, this is a conservation, I think there's some updates in terms of appointments. Did you want to come to the podium? Probably not, but you should. Okay, yeah.
Wanna read just
Yeah,
a
I've
few?
had Monday evening commitments, so I haven't gone to the last couple of ones, but they have 3 openings on the Conservation Commission. Is that what you're saying? I think there was a resignation and then a couple of appointments, new appointments anticipated, but yes, there are openings on the Conservation.
So if anybody is interested, should they see Marla or fill out an application
Yep, fill out an
online?
application, it's online. I think it goes to you, Ed, doesn't it? Or does it go to Janine, the application for any volunteer appointment?
I believe it comes to me.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So if anybody's interested, fill out an application and send it to the town administrator.
Mhm.
Okay. Any more? Francine?
No, I haven't been appointed yet to any of the committees as a liaison.
You won't be able to say that next meeting.
I know. This is my only free night.
Jim?
Nothing really new at the assessors. It's business as usual. So.
Okay. Ed, do you want to give your report?
Sure. First of all, the highway superintendent would like either myself or the select board to sign off on a contract change, order number 1 for Doucette and Associates for an MS4 annual report, which is stormwater, and the amount of $2,500. So if the board wishes so, you can vote to have me sign off on that, and I will.
Where is that money going to come from, Ed?
It's just, Randall has it in his budget.
Okay, so it's a budgeted item, or
It's a-
at least
it's
it'll
a
come
bud-
from the
It's a
line.
budgeted item.
Okay, so you need a motion?
Please.
I move.
You have a second?
I'll se-
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll sign off on that form. Just to remind you, the vote for the takings of the Glendale Road easements will be on the agenda for June 19th meeting. The notification letters were sent out on May 14th to the affected property owners who had not previously donated the land for either temporary or permanent easements, and the letters contain the written offers for the easements. Heather Pellegrini has resigned from the Finance Committee, which leaves 2 vacancies on this committee. 1 vacancy from the failure to elect at the annual election. The Select Board will need to appoint 2 individuals until the next annual election so that this committee may function. According to our bylaws, if after such election there are 1 or more vacancies on the Finance Committee, the Selectmen shall, in writing, appoint a person or persons to fill such vacancies. Any person so appointed shall be a registered voter of the town and shall perform the duties of the office until the next annual election or until another is qualified.
Okay, so on this, there's only 3 members. If one doesn't show up, they don't have a quorum, and we're in a time frame here that we need to have quorums at the Finance Committee. So if there's anybody out there in the audience or the broader audience who wants to be on the Finance Committee, please see Ed as soon as possible. And if we need to, Ed, we can have a special meeting on 2 days' notice where 3 of us show up just to approve that appointment. Yes, ma'am.
Point of order, just to be clear, I do know of an individual that is interested. I'm sorry I can't speak that person's name without speaking to her again, but what is the time frame for this? And if I was to approach her tomorrow and say, appeal to you or complete an application, is that the right process?
That would be the correct process, and I would say the time frame would be sooner the better, but I would say hopefully we'll get some responses by next week.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll let her know. Thanks.
Thanks,
And
Cindy.
the commitment would be to, is it filling a 1-year term if they want to? We have a 1-year term available, right?
Well, it's till the next election.
Till the next election.
Till the next
So
election?
till
Okay.
May
Regardless
2019.
of what term.
Okay, so till the next election. So it's not a huge length of time.
So Ed, can I just ask you, you said the failure to elect was because there was a write-in on one of the seats, and there weren't enough people that wrote in one particular's name, or one person's name was written in, but that person can't serve on the Finance Committee?
Correct. The individual that had the most write-ins was Matt Christie.
Right.
By our bylaws, a member of the finance team cannot serve on another elected body. So Matt also serves on the Water Commission, so his preference would be the Water Commission, so he did not accept that elected position. And then there were a number of ties with just one vote, so it became a failure to elect.
How many votes do you need?
Well, you'd need a majority, so when you have a tie and it's a vacancy,
So,
doesn't work.
okay.
So we do need 2 members for the Finance Committee.
Correct.
So if that person has a twin,
As a follow-up from our last meeting, I was able to contact Garrett Stover, a volunteer from the Pascomic, and excuse me if I just butchered that name, Conservation Trust. They were actually very helpful, but they did not believe it was advisable to set up a local land conservation trust at this time. And this was due to some of the changing dynamics since their trust was set up some almost 38 years ago, and the difficulty with continuing momentum over any period of time. They do believe, however, that partnering with statewide or national land conservation organizations would often boast ample financial resources and have the benefits from their professional staff that we may be looking for. 2 specific organizations they thought highly of and recommended were Kestrel and also the Franklin Land Trust.
I'll just mention that Mark Walmsley from Kestrel came to the last Open Space Review Committee and did say that people could donate to Kestrel and earmark any donation towards specifically Southampton.
And while she's on the Open Space Committee again, if people are interested, they should come to the meeting. They're pretty interesting. It's good conversation. Sorry, Ed, go ahead.
David Capriati, the beer guy, contacted me, and he's actually here this evening. The May 12th annual Spring Open House out Southampton, Harley-Davidson, was rained out. They have rescheduled the event for Saturday, June 23rd. He would like to know if he can use the one-day beer and wine license approval he had for the May 16th event as a rain date for the June 23rd event, or would he need to put in a new application for one-day beer and wine event? The hours would be the same from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
I would think we could make a motion to amend the date on that. Is that?
It would be my recommendation to
Yeah,
the board.
Okay. So, does somebody want to make a recommendation that we amend the date from May 16th to June 23rd because of the rainout?
So moved.
Is there a second?
May 12th, it's June 23rd, actually.
Yeah, it was the 12th, that got rained out.
The 12th? Oh, I'm looking
12th
at,
to the 23rd.
Yeah, because it poured.
oh, I have the 16th
Yeah, I
here,
saw
so,
that.
Bad.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's too bad.
okay, I'll second.
okay. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Beer Guy.
Do you need to change the date on this so I can post
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Do you want to write it in or?
You could write it in and initial it.
Just so if any questions,
Yep.
anybody's from there.
Hopefully you have better weather.
I do too.
There, just pass it down if you'd all initial next to my little change. They should be good.
I want to borrow yours.
Just initial it next to the date change would be good.
Did you initial it right here? Just There you go. Thank you, sir.
I realized it wasn't on your schedule, and I appreciate you changing the date for me.
Thank you. Good seeing you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, Ed, very much.
You're welcome. And we have received a letter from the Southampton 61 Group asking the board to investigate the purchase and ensure the town is given its right of first refusal for the purchase of the College Highway property. This letter was also sent to the Mass Attorney General, Maura Healy's office. And then upcoming, the next Board of Selectmen's meeting is Tuesday, June 19th. July meetings to be determined, which we might want to set tonight. And also, I would suggest a meeting either on July 10th, 11th, or 12th, and that can be a special one if you so wish, just to complete any final year-end departmental transfers. As you know, any transfers necessary must be completed both by the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee prior to July 15th. And then finally, there's a department heads meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, June 6th at 10 a.m.
Okay, so let's go back to the meetings in July so we can all agree. June 10th, look okay? It's a Tuesday?
Yes.
Yep,
July 10th,
July 10th.
July 10th.
July
yeah.
10th, yeah.
And do you want to schedule the following one as well? 24th?
Yes, 24th would be fine.
If that works for everybody.
Yes, it works.
I think that'll bring us back on schedule because it happens to be in my calendar already.
Could I ask, though, if we were to go 2 weeks from, so we have one on the 19th after this,
Correct.
and then will the next one be July 10th?
It
I will not be
appears-
here on the 3rd. 2 weeks from the 19th will be the 3rd.
Right, the 3rd's not good for me as well.
Is it okay to go from the 19th to the 10th?
As long as we don't have anything pressing. It's vacation time, and normally it's,
Mhm.
people are
I was just
taking-
thinking about the line item transfers. There are usually about 2 or 3 of them.
Now, I
But if
know-
they can all happen on the 10th, that's fine.
Well, I'm here on the 3rd. Francine, are you here on the
Here
3rd?
on the 3rd.
And if Charlie's here on the 3rd, and that's all we're doing, we can have a
Okay.
meeting and do that.
Okay,
So why don't we wait until we get to the 19th and see how it looks?
all right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. That ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Okay. If I can, I'm just finding out here, we have Tom Quinville here. Is he on the agenda, or is he from last meeting?
New business, first one.
New business? Okay. So you're almost next, so I'm going to leave you in where you are, Tom, sorry. Okay, right of first refusal, 111 Glendale Road. No updates
No,
I'm aware of that we can give now?
have not heard anything from Conservation about taking any specific actions on that property, and I believe I think that's the only one we're waiting to hear back from,
Right, we got a letter from Water and Planning
Planning.
in support of it.
Okay. New business, building inspector, Tom Quinlan, building permit fees for municipal buildings and facilities. Hi, Tom.
How you doing?
Just want to identify yourself,
Mr. Sears is here to,
The
we have
what?
questions for the plumbing inspector as well, so.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, basically, I believe it was 3 years ago, and I believe, Mr. Martin, you were on the board, whether you were here at that meeting or not, I had just brought, because there was talk about the, police and fire station
Right.
coming up, whether we're gonna charge the contractors the permit fees or just waive them with the application. And I was told at that time to, to charge.
Yeah.
So just wanted what you'd like to do at this point. Where we run into trouble is, not so much myself, but if, because I'm salary, but if my alternate had to, we haven't run into that yet. But as far as plumbing and electrical, the alternates are both out of town and, aren't gonna come do a pre-inspection. Like, never mind if they're not salary, for them to give up their night for the inspection and all. I mean, I believe they should be compensated the normal fee. So that was,
So did we agreed not to pay him the normal fee? Because we agreed
Well,
to
it's
charge
been
the fees.
confusion lately, and some has been being waived, you know, and some, and so I'd just like to have it clear, because I felt that everything should be the same. If electrical is gonna waive one, plumbing, you know, we all should be the same.
And I'm going to complicate things, which I warned Tom about today, because there's really, you can tie them both together or you can separate them. Are you going to charge municipal departments and buildings the inspection fee? The other piece is paying the inspector, which can be separate, because they're paid out of a revolving fund. So even if you don't collect the fee, there's a 10%. And in more normal years, it would probably cover that payment. The caveat comes in, this is where in other communities, I've been involved with communities that have not charged that inspection fee to the municipal department or the municipal building, because if you do larger projects, the contractor is going to take, and if it was a $100 or $500 inspection fee, they're going to charge a markup on that. So you're going to pay more. So you're actually charging yourself that premium. However, when you also get into that higher bracket or higher inspection fee for a larger project, more than likely, if you didn't charge that fee to the town department, you're not going to have enough extra in the revolving fund for the electrical inspector or the plumbing inspector to pay them. So you can separate the two, you can tie them together, but I agree with Tom that, yeah, we should have the discussion and come up with a definitive plan.
I mean, if we're doing a building, we've got a budget, we've got to build everything into the budget and do our debt service for it, or however we're funding it. So from my point of view, I'd rather just build it right into the budget, let them charge the appropriate fee, and take it out of the remodeling or building budget, rather than go to the town department afterwards, say, by the way, you owe them $300. Because with the budget so tight now, there's not going to be anybody that has that.
Correct.
But I mean, the right thing to do is pay the inspector, obviously.
And there is a review process and all, so they have the running around to get sign-offs a lot of
Right.
times, so I'm sure regardless, they're gonna put some amount in their contract,
Right.
or in their bid
Yeah.
to cover that, so.
I agree. And the inspection fees, if you're doing a safety complex, you amortize the inspection fees over 30 years, I mean, it's going to amount to not even pennies a year.
Correct.
So what do the rest of you think?
How many municipal buildings are inspected in town?
Well,
All of them?
yes, as far as the schools, you know, my fee's always been, and fire's always been waived for our school inspections. Now, this would be for permits for, like, there was new lighting done at the highway garage.
Mhm.
And Jim was nice enough to waive it, Jim Fisher, electrical inspector, was nice enough to waive it, but we're gonna get to the point where, you know, it's done once, not, you know, that's what I'm worried about, and I feel he should be paid, you know, for his service. He's a professional, he carries his licensing and his schooling, and that's where we ran into it. It's more, I still don't think we should charge for our inspections at the school or anything like that. That wasn't the
Talking
intent.
building, remodeling.
Right, it would be for when a contractor's pulling a
Oh, I
permit
see.
for a job.
We should be consistent, so
Yeah.
Right.
think about that.
I mean, if for some reason the inspector said, hey, I'm going to waive it because I know your budget's tight, that's up to the inspector, but the policy should be across the board that we're going to pay the inspector.
I agree.
I agree with you, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I do too.
So does that pretty much answer the question?
That does.
Great,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Good
Thank
seeing
you.
Okay, posting of special election, is Janine here? No.
Yep. She's
Oh,
back.
there she is. Hi, Janine.
Town Clerk Janine Domina. I was asked to come this evening to speak with you about the possibilities of holding a special election for the select board seat that ended up in a tie. And so, first of all, there's two options. One option is to hold a special election. The town mandates that there's a 64-day notice period. So I calculated that, and the earliest we could do from tonight would be Tuesday, August, if you want to do on a Tuesday, August 14th. So what we have to do, first of all, is for you people to, as a select board, vote if you want to hold a special election. If you choose not to, 200 registered voters could petition you to enforce you to hold a special election. The second option would be to combine the local special election with the state primary on September 4th. It would be a dual election. Either way, we would have to start the election process all over again, like taking out nomination papers, and it would only be for the select board seat. That's it. Holding a caucus and the printing of the ballots. So whether it be August 14th or September 4th, we would still have the usual costs of printing the ballots, payroll, and paying a police officer. But there would be a cost savings in holding a dual election on September 4th. And it would be around $750 in savings. So my recommendation, well, first would be to combine the local election with the state primary for September 4th, especially with the cost savings. And also, if you're considering August 14th or anywhere in there, a lot of people are away on vacations and everything. So what I did was I came up with an election calendar. So I can.
I have that electronically, so I have that already, so you don't need to give me a copy. Ed sent it out to us.
Oh, he got it.
I don't know, do you have one, Francine?
Okay. The only thing I added to the one that I gave Ed was July 3rd would be the very first date, and the nomination papers would be available starting then, and then they would be available for 2 weeks.
Okay. So we're only talking exactly 3 weeks from the August 14th to the 9th.
Yeah.
So you can combine both the election, local as well as state
Yep.
on one ballot?
I've had a few conversations with the state election division, and we can definitely do that. We would have to have 2 separate check-ins, 2 separate checkouts, one for the primary, candidate, the parties, the Republican and Democratic, and then the local ballot. And it would all be programmed on the same memory card.
Oh, that's good, so it wouldn't have to be, it could
So
just be
that's
put in the machine. Yeah.
that's actually where the savings comes in,
Okay,
is that and the handicap machine.
okay.
And people could still do an absentee if they weren't here for the day of the election, right?
Yes.
Can we add finance committee to the ballot?
No,
Yeah, why can't we add
Yeah.
something else?
no. The law specifically is like select board and town clerk and I forgot what else.
Treasurer collector, probably.
Treasurer collector, thank
So
you.
only certain positions?
Only certain positions, the others have to be appointed by you. And if I could just do a little backwards point of order. When you were discussing the Open Space Committee members and appointing them for a year. Is there any way you could either appoint them until this June 30th or the following June 30th? Because that would make it
Easier for
so
you?
that everyone, actually, it would
The end of
make
the
it
fiscal
easier for Ed,
Okay.
because that's when most people
Keep it on a
are
fiscal
being
year.
reappointed.
Okay, so after we're done here, I'll reopen it up and,
Yeah.
okay, that's a good
Okay.
idea. Now, are you gonna stick around in case anybody wants to be? Or no? We have
For
a
a
meeting,
few minutes,
we
I
have a meeting
can't.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
No pressure.
I'll make a motion that we have the special election for Select Board seat September 4th.
To coincide
Second.
with state, okay.
September 2nd? Oh, you seconded
September
it.
4th.
I thought you said fourth.
Fourth.
You said 4th.
Fourth, and I'll second.
This is right after the Labor Day weekend, so
It is.
hopefully you get a lot of people out. So any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Can we go back on the Open Space Review Committee and amend actually, we didn't make a motion for the term, we just specified the term, so we'll just put on record the term will be through June 30th, 2019. That work? Yeah. Okay, great,
Sounds
thanks.
good.
Okay.
So as anybody's on this list, if you can follow Janine out, I think she might be able to help you. Okay, charge, duties, responsibilities, and terms. We did the terms. The Open Space Committee has got to sit down and come up with the duties and responsibilities. We started that,
Mhm.
so we'll have to wait till the next Select Board meeting to bring that forward for a vote. Select Board assignments and liaison roles. We have that in our packet.
Want to wait till Charlie's back, because he's probably going to want some of those.
Good point, good point.
Well,
Okay, why,
He did let me know that he'd like to remain on the Capital Committee and the Public Safety Complex.
okay. So I'll tell you what, why don't we bring it up, look and make sure we've got all the committees
I had that.
here. We can at least do that. Does everybody have it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
So, we have the assessors, Board of Health, Capital, Concom, Finance, Greenway, Master Plan Implementation, Norris, Hampshire, Planning Board, Public Safety, COA, and ZBA, as well as Open Space.
Weren't we
Yeah.
going to trim some of these down because we had a
We-
town
Yeah,
administrator
we
now?
did. We
Yeah.
did.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
think-
trimmed down?
Yeah.
I think what we trimmed down, Jim, is the
Fire,
department head.
yeah.
Highway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we got two more I didn't get to, Community Preservation and PPPB,
Yeah, they're a voted
Yes.
member on community preservation.
right.
Yeah, and PQB.
And PQB, those are the
Yes.
two separate, yeah. I mean, right now, let me just quickly go down. We have assignments on all of them,
Do you not
so
have one, Jim?
if we wanna wait until Charlie gets back,
Well, I think he just said that he just said what two he wanted, so I think that what's important is that some of the committees meet every other week, some are monthly and some are intermittent. And there are two committees that have voting membership. So I just think it's important to just keep those things in mind, that's all.
And in my thinking, having just come off of a committee that had multiple representations from the select board to the committee, I'm going to say that doesn't really work for
Yeah.
continuity purposes.
agree.
So now that we have 5 on the committee, hopefully we could assign one individual to each of the committees rather than having them take turns. I think for communication and coordination purposes, it's better. And the other thing is I counted up on the town website, we have 28, not all are operational, but listed 28 committees, boards, and commissions for our town, which is a lot. I mean, some obviously we don't have liaison relationships with, but what I am going to recommend when we do look at this is that perhaps we invite at least a quarterly or semi-annual report from the committees where the select board is not represented. We need to stay in communication with each group because they're doing important work. Some of it doesn't include us or require us for participation, but certainly I think in considering what they have going on, it would be important for us to be involved, you know, having information from them on some scheduled basis.
Okay. Any comments, Jim?
Nope.
So I guess back to the question, do we want to do this tonight with Charlie's too? And there's 16 committees I quickly counted, so there's going to be 3 of them. We're going to all be on at least 3 of them. So I have no problem with signing Charlie to the 3rd one. So
Oh, wait, was it waiting one session? I mean, I think we should wait till next meeting.
okay.
I think it'd be fine.
What do you think, Francine?
Yeah, I mean, I'd really like to have a discussion about perhaps, I mean, continuing to have the same representatives. I don't know if that's advisable or not, or should we make some assignment changes? That would be something I would hope that other people would consider, not just me.
I agree. There's going to be a couple cases where, depending on your background, but again, besides
Understood.
that, I agree with you, you know, mixing them
Understood.
around is, yeah. So,
And I understand I'm the new person, so I probably get what's left. Okay,
no, that's not.
No,
that's
I don't
not
think
true.
so.
That's not true.
okay.
But you will get 6.
I bet you would work out really well on finance.
So do you think tonight or next meeting, Francine?
Well, let's go with tonight rather than hold things up any
Okay.
longer.
And you're tonight too?
Well,
I'm fine with that. I think for me, it's, I think we have to just have a relatively small number of liaison assignments and either go to meetings or have a close relationship with the chair of the committee. And that I would favor not having a liaison assignment when you're related to people that are the chair or on the committee, if at all possible. Not that there's an, inherent conflict of interest, but there's the optics of a conflict of interest. So I would just ask people be thoughtful about that.
So if I can, just getting back to my past comment, let's look at our backgrounds and strengths and pick those out first. I think that would be the best. And I'm gonna jump in here first on the Public Safety Building Committee. I have a strong background in Chapter 149 construction law, so that's why I was on that one. And I think that'll help the committee going forward once we get into the design and build stage. So
Member Francine had asked to be part of that committee as well, so I don't know if that's, just wanted to bring it up because that's what was thought about at the last meeting.
If that was one of the ones you had an interest in?
Yes, I did, but I thought they were forming an ad hoc committee. And
Yeah,
that's
she
what I
wanted-
was going to
Oh,
participate,
okay.
not on the regular public safety.
Right, you're
committee.
doing the one from the public safety and select board liaison, right?
Right.
And you're on that one.
Yes.
But what ad hoc committee is it? So there's the Public Safety Committee, and then what was the ad
I
hoc?
think they were putting a special committee together.
Oh, so representatives from each, Okay.
Right, and that was to look at the donation of some land for a safety
Okay.
complex. They
Mhm.
were gonna talk to the owner of the land and
that
come back
hasn't
with a
happened.
recommendation. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
and nothing's been scheduled yet.
okay. Who's leading that? Charlie is leading that because he's the chair of the Public Safety Building Committee. Okay, so my background is, the public safety is the only one that I have any concern with. Does anybody else have any background that they bring that might fit well on one of these committees?
I would like to remain on Council of Aging.
I would be interested in the
Okay.
personnel policies and procedures.
Oh.
I have been the liaison from the Finance Committee to that group, and I do have a strong interest in that.
And I could stay with the assessors. I have no
Okay,
problem
before
with
you
that.
go, I gotta write these down, sorry, Francine. Which one, Francine?
PBB.
PQB, okay. And hopefully Kathy, you're writing faster than me. I'm writing it. Okay, and Jim, what'd you say?
I'm on the assessors, and I could stay there if you'd like.
Well, it's up to you.
I have no problem with it.
assessors. Ed, what did Charlie want for one of those?
He would like to stay on the Capital Committee and I believe it was the Public Safety.
Public safety.
Yeah, Capital Committee and the Public Safety Complex.
Was he
So just so you know, I had been the liaison to Board of Health, and then when we changed that in April, because Charlie was, remember the switch we did with assessors and Board of Health? So I would just maybe recommend that Charlie stay on Board of Health. He's in the process of trying to work with the EMD, and I've gotten some emails that he's still trying to pull together data from the Board of Health. So I'm sure he would be okay with that, because he's the current liaison. Even though it says my name, it was actually Charlie.
Okay, so let's assign him to the Board of Health.
Okay, is there a conflict? Are they usually scheduled at the same time as the select board?
Says
That's-
Tuesdays.
That's correct. Sometimes it's 6:30, but that's going to be a problem no matter who's the
So it's
liaison.
difficult, no matter who would be on it, there's not an opportunity to participate
Is
unless
it-
somehow the schedule gets changed.
Is it every Tuesday, Rini?
Mm-mm.
Or every
No,
other?
it's monthly, up
Monthly?
to 6 weeks.
So maybe we can be sensitive to that when we look at our schedules going forward? That-
We usually schedule before them, so they end up scheduling on the same night.
So maybe they can be sensitive to our
I'm
schedules, so
thinking
we can
that,
ask them,
yes.
yeah.
That was what I was
Okay. So we've got the assessors, I'm going from the top, got the assessors, got the Board of Health. Capital Committee, that's very intimate, so let's just skip over that.
Charlie asked for that committee.
Yeah, nobody else has an interest? Okay,
Now, can I ask a question on that?
sure.
Of looking at our bylaws? Is that a liaison appointment, or is that an appointment to be a member
Yeah.
of that committee? Which, if it's an appointment to a member of the committee, it also comes with voting rights, so.
The notation here says appointed, is that what you put, Ed? or-
I put the appointed piece in there, because that's what it seemed to me, but I couldn't find a
I
definite
think,
audit
I was looking
trail
to
in it.
see, like particularly Jim and Charlie, what committees you were on, and I know you're on planning as a member, not a liaison, and I believe he's on capital as a member, not a liaison. I wasn't sure about public safety.
Don't know the answer to that one. So is that something, Ed, you can check out for us? Because if he's appointed, he's a voting member, and from my point of view, that's always better if you folks, have no issues and we don't have any procedural issues.
Yeah, I'll see what I can find out on it, but
Okay.
that's what it seemed to be, but I'll double check.
Okay. So Concom, Rini, we have you on there now. It looks like it meets, what, twice a month?
Mhm.
Anybody have any objection, or you want to stay on that?
Yeah, I was going to see if anybody else was interested in community preservation. Right now, both you and Charlie are on that. I don't know. I would be interested in that.
No, you don't.
Instead of Concom, you mean?
Well, depending on how many we end up with, I just have an interest in that. It just seems to go well with conservation, so I'd be willing to be on both of them.
Makes sense.
So let's put you down for conservation while we've got you here.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, finance, who was the last member on the finance committee?
It says Martin and
Us,
Labrie.
yeah.
No, I mean the last person to serve on that committee.
Yeah,
I wonder who that
Francine,
is.
you'd be
Well,
it's your specialty.
yeah, actually, it's not, and again, I come back and say maybe there should be someone else as a liaison to the committee other than myself. Because I was kind of looking down the list a little bit, and I was thinking, as Rini was thinking about, conservation and community preservation seem to go hand in hand. I was really thinking about Norris and Hampshire Regional,
Okay.
having the same representative, and that would be something I would be interested in doing.
I know Jim and I have done finance.
You want to do finance? You used to be on the committee.
No, thank you.
Just asking. By the way, I don't see your name on there yet.
Where?
Just
So-
kidding.
Any takers for finance that haven't done it yet?
Charlie,
He's done it
He's
too.
already on
when he's not here.
3.
Well, they usually meet on Monday. Today,
Well,
They
yeah,
always
yeah.
met on Monday, but now,
Well, we can pass over that one, let's keep going.
Come back
for
to
now.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Greenway, I'm on it, very intermittent now. I was on the negotiating committee. I mean, I'm fine with staying on it because it's so intermittent, you know. It's just reporting back on our progress with the railroad. If everybody's fine with it, I'm fine with it.
I'm fine.
Mhm.
So Norris, maybe Francine, that's what you wanted?
yeah, I thought Norris and Hampshire Regional, not that they operate out of the same budget, but just kind of a continuum.
So before you go to Norris, we skipped MPI committee,
Mhm.
which has been very intermittent since the chair left a long time ago. So we've got to resurrect that. And because it's very intermittent, unless somebody else wants to do it, I'll just throw it on my mind because Greenway's intermittent too.
Yeah.
Okay, Norris, Francine, you have an interest there?
Yeah.
Any objection?
No, and she wants Hampshire with that, I think you said,
Yeah,
right?
I thought Hampshire
You want
as well.
Hampshire too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Planning,
Yeah, I'm on the planning board. I think I have, let me see how many years, 2 more years left in my sentence.
Mhm.
I can handle that if you like. If somebody else wants it, that's fine with me.
now, Rini, you had kind of a thought of somebody that's elected versus a liaison?
Is that what you want?
No, I was just saying that I was looking to see if anybody that was on the select board was already appointed to a committee. So, no, I was just wondering, as other people were, about whether there was an appointed position or a liaison to planning and capital.
Okay. So we all okay with Jim being an elected member as well as the liaison?
Let's see. I'm looking at the assignments here and
Yeah.
counting up who has and whether or not I should take on another.
You've got a couple of heavy hitters.
Yeah, you got
Yeah, but they're meeting, I know but they meet basically once a month compared to some that meet
Oh.
twice a month. Hampshire meets the first Monday. And the
Norris?
Norris meets the fourth Wednesday, once. Okay. All right, so I could probably also, I hate to do this.
Let's hold it and we'll get back to it,
Okay,
okay?
let's wait.
Before,
So you're skipping planning at this point?
Yeah.
skipping planning at this point. Public safety, I'm on that, and I know Charlie had expressed an interest in that. Anybody have an objection to that?
No.
So that's,
Rini says you want a COA.
Mhm.
Rini on COA.
I'll put my name on ZBA. It's, if you like, I don't,
Yeah, we never had one before, right?
right. So if that's okay?
That was Ed's request or suggestion.
Okay. Open space, Rini and I,
Yeah, we got that covered.
and we've got CPC. And Rini, is that where you said?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so long as I'm just looking, both of those committees meet every 2
Mhm.
weeks. But I think one of them looks like it's on Wednesday and one's on Monday. And the other one that I would be on would be once a month, Wednesday, and, yeah, I think it's doable.
So CPC. And PQB, Francine's on that already.
Right.
So let me just say,
Now, was the CPC a liaison, or is that going to be an appointed voting position? Because, again, by the bylaws, you can appoint a member to that.
well, if the bylaws allow it, I'd say we appoint a member, give them the voting rights.
Okay.
Any reason not to?
I'm just trying to be,
Is
Right,
that,
well, we've
clear?
always been that way. I
Yeah.
think.
is that the way it's been?
Yeah.
Okay.
Charlie's on the CPC right now, and
Yeah,
he's the
Okay.
voting member.
okay.
Okay,
So you're on it now, Maureen?
okay, yep.
Yes, ma'am?
It is a voting member
Mm-hmm.
by the bylaws of the community preservation. And if you're going to do it, I'm going to invite you to our meeting tomorrow at 5:30.
We'll both be there.
I know, but she can be official.
That's true, too.
Hey, John. I don't know, we have our finance committee here, they may want to talk about what's going on. Do you want to listen
Okay.
to it?
Yep. You guys have just a couple of minutes till we finish this? Can you hang out? No? So you couldn't do anything?
Ed?
Do you want to take?
What is it?
As far as we know, there's still 3 of you officially. Right, right. There's no quorum, right.
So what you should do is hold on to these till the next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so you want me to just hold on to them?
We did,
Please.
All right, I'll get in touch with Dan.
Sharon?
Yeah, and they're gonna take up appointing 2 people also.
Yeah. They did. We announced that we're looking for 2 members out to the public and told them to give applications to Ed, and somebody said that they knew somebody that might be interested. And if we need to, we'll hold a special board meeting just to appoint them. That sounds- Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks, John. Okay, so we gotta go back to, what didn't we do?
We skipped over
Planning and what else?
Skipped over
finance, we skipped
Yeah,
over. and we
Finance and planning.
skipped planning.
finance
Yeah.
and planning.
Right now I have 2, so,
Gee, Francine, I'd take the planning if you take the finance.
there you go.
Francine has,
All right. All right, I guess.
You'll take one for the team? It's a good committee, it's just commitment, yeah.
On finance.
And the planning might be interesting because we're redoing the zoning bylaw, we're redoing the whole zoning in town, so.
Okay, so let's
How
try
about
that.
if I do, I'll do a switch and do planning?
I've been on finance a lot, so I'd prefer not to be honest with you.
Want to flip a coin? I don't know. How do we resolve this?
Only if it's one, double-headed there.
Ah, all right. Okay, so you're gonna do planning,
It's only for 1 year.
and I'll do finance then.
Okay, thank you.
And next year we'll switch, okay?
That's fine. Do you want to trade off one of your others, so you have just 3, or are you okay with those? Because you got PQB, Norris, HRHS, and FinCom, but the school is just once a month
and
each.
PQB.
Yeah. So the schools are once a
Well,
month.
let me see. I do think, I was intrigued by the idea of doing both schools, the elementary and
Yeah.
the high school.
That is a
So
good
I'm gonna,
connection.
I think I'm gonna stick with that and
Okay.
give up the PVB
You want to give up PQB?
if I have to, yes.
Okay. Now, my suggestion, and you folks tell me, Charlie's got the Board of Health, which is, a regular, but capital and public safety are intermittent, so we can switch down the PQB to him if you all
Yeah,
agree.
Leave him on it.
He's currently on that.
Yeah, so he's good at it.
Is that an issue, or you want to do
No,
some more
that's fine.
swaps?
That makes sense.
Rini, are you okay with that, or?
That's fine. I don't think
Okay.
he'll mind.
Perfect.
So let's do that then. Great. Okay, I think that item's gone.
So who's in the Greenway?
Greenway, I am, but again, that's very intermittent now. It used to be a lot more intense, but it's not now.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I think I have it down.
Yeah, Ed, you're gonna put that in the minutes so we remember everything, right?
I'm gonna try to, yes. Well, I'm not gonna put it in the minutes. That's Kathy's job, so. It's my job to update the website, though.
Okay, next is the fiscal year 18 budget to expenditures update. You've got it in your packages. And this goes through May 31st, so that's the 11/12ths of a year, if you will.
And I'll just let you know that the revenue report is through the end of March.
Okay, so,
And that's where they have had the receipts entered and been balanced by both the treasurer and the accountant. So that one's a couple months behind. The expense report is through 5/31.
Right.
That explains a lot, because most of my questions were about how
And-
far behind we were in revenue. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
And then the third piece is the report we got from the Norris School, which was as of May 23rd.
So let's go to the 2018 expense report, which is through May, which is 11/12, which is, my calculator's right, .92. So when you look in the far right column, .92 or under is under budget. And there's very little that's over budget.
Well,
by
the fire department wages are 213% over budget.
Yeah, well,
Point
yeah.
nine two, town clerk's dead on. 0.92.
And then one caveat to this is that it's a report as of May 31st. However, I will let you know that the invoices and the warrants that were processed that week will not show up until the June expense report, because the official payment date on the checks is June 7th. So I'm actually aware of some of these accounts being less than what's here. So let me walk you through what I know, and if you've got any questions on anything else, let me know. If I don't, I'll find out from Vicki. I apologize if Vicki wasn't able to be here, but she had something pre-scheduled, and she will be here on the 19th. So I'll walk you down first, the second line, the selectmen expenses minutes. By my calculation, as of tonight's meeting, that account will be depleted. Now, there's one more meeting, but I'm sure that I could probably transfer some funds from the vacant administrator to the administrator, the town administrator account over to cover that other meeting. The third line, internet service, is probably going to end up being about $30 short. Probably about a quarter of a way down the page, photocopier lease and supplies, we estimate will probably end up somewhere around $500 or $550 short. Let's see. Treasurer collector's expenses may end up a little bit short. We're going to have to double check on that. But about 2/3 of the way down the page, the legal expenses, because I did process the April payments to them last week, I will let you know that through the billings through the end of April, we now have a $392.09 balance in our legal expense account, with May and June to go. Most of the way down the page, the gas and electric at Town Hall, we estimate will end up probably coming up about $4,200 short. And then the Town Hall building expenses are right on the edge of balancing out, just depending on what I have, or we have come up unforeseen between now and the end of the month. On the second page,
So Ed, can I ask you about that? Because I know we have the Green Communities Grant. When do we actually get that $138,000? And it has to be based on a plan or assessment first, right?
right, and we're starting that process, so we'll put in the paperwork for that, and basically what we're looking at in the first round, depending on what they come back with, for cost efficiency estimates and actual cost of the project estimates, are the front doors in this building and the insulation in this wing. And then the lighting at Norris School, the refrigeration at Norris School, and some of the HVAC controls at Norris School.
There's nothing in there for solar?
No, there's nothing in this for solar. And solar will usually come later. Usually what you want to do, because within 5 years you have to meet your goals of a 20% reduction in energy usage. Usually what you want to do is take the projects at the beginning that are going to give you the biggest return. And then once you hit your 20% goal, then you're eligible for other grants. On page 2, police overtime wages are in a deficit. We are estimating that we'll be able to transfer some of that from their regular salary accounts or wage accounts to meet that deficit.
And what about the educational expense? There's a large balance. Is that
Yeah,
usually something that's awarded at the end of the year?
No, they pay it twice a year, right, Ed?
Right, twice a year. So yes,
It's
there's
only the
a
first
second,
payment.
there's a
Okay.
second payment to
Okay.
come out of that. About a quarter of the way down the page is fire department. Wages are in a deficit. However, that will be offset by the EMT standby and the EMT wages. And the fire truck maintenance and the ambulance maintenance, which is in a small deficit, will be able to be covered by some of his other expense accounts in the fire department. About 2/3 of that way down the page, vocational transportation, we're going to end up coming up about $17,000 short, but we will be able to transfer to cover that shortage from the local school transportation. And the last set under Public Works and Facilities, general highway expenses, we're anticipating will come in about $3,000 to $4,000 short. Should be able to cover that from some of the other highway accounts. And then the big one are our snow and ice deficit, which is the winter roads wages and the winter roads expenses, which total about $82,000 in deficit. Now, those accounts we can legally deficit spend. However, Vicki and I do not know if we'll have enough funds at the end of the year to actually cover that this year. We may not, which means that we will end up having to put that on our tax recap for the fiscal year 19 levy and add that to it. So I have some concerns about that at this point in time. So I'll go into that as we get closer to the end and see what that deficit actually may be that we may not be able to cover. On the third page, under Human Services, Veterans Agent, or it's actually Veterans Benefits, will end up being somewhere around $2,100 short in that account. That's due to some new veterans coming on the rolls. We do receive 75% of what we pay out reimbursed from the state. However, we do not receive that until the following fiscal year. So, and we did notice that earlier, and it was one of the reasons that we had actually increased that line item in the fiscal year 19 budget. Towards the bottom of the page, under miscellaneous expenses, group health insurance, we're anticipating that will end up at about a $35,000 deficit for the year, due to a couple of items, people changing plans, and also when the fiscal year 18 budget was done, they did not have the forecast for the actual health insurance cost rates increase for fiscal year 18. Now, we anticipate that we'll be able to transfer over about $10,000 of that deficit from the retiree group health account, but we will have to look elsewhere to come up with about $25,000.
So those numbers for the group health retiree and group health insurance, you're extrapolating that from invoices that you have? Because right now, one is below budget by quite a bit, and the other is a little above. But you're projecting large deficits in one.
Right, the active.
So, but why, I'm assuming it's paid out in monthly installments.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so the same thing with the retiree, so if that's the case, we should have 20-something thousand dollars maybe left over in that retiree?
Well, don't forget that a portion of that will also belong to the retirees, so that's one of the pieces we'll have to look at to figure out what is eligible to bring over. Right now, the estimate's about 10,000,
Okay,
but there might be a little bit more. Are there any other accounts that you notice you have questions about?
Covered the ones that I was questioning.
now the chapter 90 for 18, if I remember correctly, are we holding that over?
We would have some that we are holding over. I know we've got, I think it's $160,000 for engineering for the East Street Bridge.
Right.
And I know we also, and I can't tell you the exact figure, and I apologize, but I know we also have some set aside for Glendale Road for the easements, the legal, and some costs with that, and the actual payments for the easements.
50 or something.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it is.
So we haven't spent anything out of that by the looks of it here. 317 is still sitting there,
As of,
531?
yeah, and I would probably caveat that by saying probably more likely by saying like May 23rd, so.
Is that something that can be used for winter roads?
No, that is not. And it's reimbursable only to, for certain, shall we say, projects,
Road construction?
road construction, guardrails and such.
Is there any more on here that anybody has a question on?
I don't have any questions.
Francine?
No, no questions.
Rini?
Hmm.
Okay. Thanks, Ed.
Oh, you're welcome. And if you wanted to put Erin on the spot and ask her anything about the school report,
Or
she
school
knows a
budget.
heck of a lot more about that than I do, so.
Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna pull it up here and take a quick look.
Yeah, it's,
The only thing I noticed from the meeting itself was the, what Ed just referred to, which was the under budget on transportation, which we just heard will go to vocational.
Yep.
And they did say the boiler will be fixed this summer.
On some of the encumbered, especially the salary funds, is that to pay people over 12 months?
Yeah, that's all gonna be used.
Okay, so they're getting paid beyond the fiscal year out of last year's?
I guess the question is, how does teachers get paid over 10 months, 12 months? Or do they elect to?
I honestly don't know that. I know that all the encumbered is gonna be used. There's not any extra. I don't know if it's 10 months or 12 months. I don't know if they can elect between the two.
Okay, because some of it is substantial, so I'm assuming it goes more than from June 1st to June 31st. You know, the 1 month that's left in this fiscal year, I'm assuming it's just for the rest of the,
Would you mind finding out, just letting Ed know so we'll know?
Yeah, if you have follow-up questions, I'm happy to. I didn't come prepared to talk about the
Okay.
budget, so I'm happy to follow up if you want me to.
Yeah, I can contact Bobby and find out.
Okay.
I'll take the weight off your shoulders, Erin.
okay.
Is there anything else you want to say about the budget at all? No? Is there anything else that you wanted to mention about the budget? We got the same copy that Bobby had passed out the last local school committee meeting. Is there anything else you want to mention? No?
Well, there wasn't anything that was.
Yeah. The only thing I noticed was the
We're gonna
transportation.
probably end up having you come up here, Aaron, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the transportation was one thing, but we're pretty much on key for everything. We have what happens at the end of the year, they A lot of people will do subs, so the sub's gonna be drawn out. That's what happens usually at the end of the year, they take time. So there's more subs that come in, so that's budgeted, that you might see that there's still some left in that sub line. I did specifically ask about the teacher salaries. They will get paid, maybe that's the difference. I don't know as if it's a 12-year versus or 12-month versus a 10-month. So she didn't, we've done some line item transfers to move stuff around, but there's nothing really like that's left over that won't get spent, that I know of, that was any like significant amount.
Anybody else have any more questions for Erin? Thanks. Okay, next thing, any other necessary business that can't wait till the June 19th regular select board meeting?
John, can I just mention something? I just have a
Sure.
question about the revenue list.
Yes.
A lot of the revenue percentages are zero. Is that because the money comes in at the end of the fiscal year? I'm assuming that's it. And Ed, now that you've been here 6 months or so, or almost, I'm just curious to know, I mean, I think most of us are not interested in having to deal with an override, and so I'm just wondering if you've had a chance with all the busyness that's been going on to kind of look at revenue to see in terms of what's coming in on taxes or where we're at, if we're maximizing our revenue that's in the current budget, or if there are any concerns about that.
Well, the fact that revenue numbers have only been reflected in here through March put us a little bit behind, and I will say, in that analysis. As far as at least the tax payments go, I haven't seen anything in the reports that I've seen since I've been here to believe that we'll end up behind or in a deficit on a revenue standpoint, at least on the tax payments.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Any other necessary business? Okay.
Just one other thing about necessary business. Ed, can you put on the agenda, I think we talked about you're completing your self-evaluation now that you've been here 6 months. I think it's around the time that's supposed to happen, that we're supposed to do some sort of a probationary evaluation.
I haven't even had time to look and see if I can find the form, to be honest with you,
Okay,
Irene.
I know, I just wanted to keep it on the radar, that's all.
I was thinking about it actually last night when I was here. I said, "Well, maybe this weekend I'll come in and find that."
Okay, so you've got it on your radar anyways.
Yes, I do.
That's all.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, PCFs, looks like there's none. Licenses, permits. Joan Linehan, COA Director, one-day beer and wine for the Senior Center Sip and Paint, which is Monday, June 25th, 3 to 5 p.m. Are they doing the painting before or after the sipping?
It's
Concurrent.
Soaring?
Concurrent.
Should be a
Progressive.
Should be a fun
See the
time.
change.
Ed, is everything filled out properly?
Everything is filled out properly.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any questions? Can you report back as our COA liaison how that went?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Can I respond? I have an answer for you.
Sure, just come up, identify yourself, and
So Vicky, who apparently is watching this, he texted me and said that teachers are paid September through June 30th, but they can elect to either be paid in a lump sum at the year end or paid through the summer.
Oh,
There
yeah,
you go.
that explains it, thank
That's
you.
your answer.
okay,
So we didn't
We
vote.
have a vote, we didn't vote on that yet.
correct.
The liquor.
We have a motion and a second. I guess that was discussion in between. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, need us to sign that, Ed? While that's going down, Francine, you want to go over the warrants that you signed?
Okay, we have 3 warrants tonight. Number P 18-48 for $278,904.67. We have another warrant, PD 18-48 for $48,669.13. And the third and final is PD 18-48A for $189,247.20.
And you signed these prior to the meeting, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. other documents requiring signature, none. Minutes to approve, May 15th, 2018.
I'll make a motion, we approve the May 15th, 2018 minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so any discussion on those? Any issues?
I had no questions.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 I have to abstain, I wasn't a member,
You don't
and I
have to,
wasn't
you weren't,
present, no.
yeah, you don't have to be there.
You don't have to be there, you
No.
can vote, man.
We've checked with the state on that.
Read them, but I wasn't in attendance at the meeting either.
Okay, so you're going to abstain?
Yes, I
Okay.
abstain.
Thank you. You could pass that back, please. Okay, we've already said next select board meeting is the 19th. We've got July's already. Looks like Southampton Council on Aging Volunteer Appreciation Luncheon Invitation, which is Friday, June 22nd at noontime. Anybody want to say anything about that?
No, I plan to attend.
Okay.
A nice little invitation.
Yes.
Okay, now, open time for the public. I'm not going to read this whole session in here, just, if both sides are respectful, I think that'll give the information here. So if you want to give to the podium, just feel free to line up and come on up. And identify yourself, please.
Somebody left a pen up here. Tamara Lunas, 298 College Highway. I'd like to make 2 observations. Kind of glad that I didn't get to talk at the joint meeting, because now I'm much calmer. The town is being given land, and people are already asking and wanting to know what else is being done with the other land. They're debating if we should be accepting it and what happened with the other donor. My observation from myself and from a few other people's is it really any of our business? People demanding to know what else is being done with the rest of the property. It seems like if you keep pushing this demand, you're going to lose the donation altogether, just like what happened with the anonymous donor on the land originally. My second observation, it seems like people are more concerned with losing money for the town than trying to raise revenues. Right now, town tax land, the town taxes land by the use. So if you have one lot, it's one tax. But if you break that lot into 5 or 10, 15 lots, now you have that many more homes paying taxes at a greater revenue, whereas the town doesn't have to pay taxes at all. And right now, the town has over 800 acres in open space that we don't have to pay for. So that was one of the things brought up to Ed tonight about revenue. That's how, one of the ways. Just an observation.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we have none. We're going to end up going into executive session, unless I haven't missed anything, have I? Okay, going into executive session, and we won't be coming out because it's going to be several sessions. So we're going Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. This is for Local 98 International Union of Operating Engineers for the highway. Same section for the East Street Bridge. Third one is Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. This is for 6 Coleman Road. And the next one, again, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining litigation, which is the same as the first two, and this is for College Highway and former road properties. So I need a roll call vote to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Yes, thank you. A second?
I'll second it.
Groden, aye.
Martin, aye.
Francine Tishman?
Aye.
Aye.
Labrie, aye.
Okay. Okay, we're going to adjourn for 5 minutes and go into executive session.